I'm dying, and Jack can't even wait for this last month. He had his first love move in, suitcase and all, took my place, played footsie under the table in front of our kid, and wanted Nancy to call her godmother. Jack and Lisa were a high school couple famous nationwide for their love story. And me, I'm the leech who stole away this fairy tale romance. Everybody forgot that it was Lisa's family who dumped Jack when he went bankrupt, humiliating him in the process. But now that Jack's neurointerface research succeeded, he's a national hero. Suddenly, I'm the homewrecker who came between him and Lisa's 8-year love. People dug up every bit of my past, how I stayed close, but kept my distance, always helping them reconcile their fights while hiding my own feelings, and twisted it into something sinister. No one remembers how I married Jack with nothing, worked tirelessly to pay off his family's debts, and funded his research. All people care about is that I have a terminal illness, and they Photoshop images of my funeral to share online. They even drag my kid into it. In the park, Nancy stands like a little warrior, tears in her eyes, yelling at the neighbor kids throwing rocks at me. Apologize to my mom. My mom's not a homewrecker. My mom has a marriage license. You think your parents don't? I'm coughing so hard I see stars. Trying to protect her, but losing strength and collapsing, dragging her down with me. Luckily, Jack's parents arrive and take us home. This incident quickly becomes a new point of attack online. They say I staged it for sympathy. When Jack gets home, he's furious. Didn't I tell you to lay low for a few days until this blows over? He doesn't ask if Nancy's hurt, or if I'm okay. He's only mad I caused another scandal. Lisa, hanging onto his arm, tries to play peacemaker. Jack, Alice didn't mean to. She doesn't understand how critical this phase of your research is right now. Don't be mad. I stay silent for a moment before I start laughing coldly. I don't understand. When Jack's family went bankrupt, no one would invest in him. They couldn't even get a $30 payday loan. I was pregnant, taking on jobs to pay off debts and save for his research. Once, I managed to scrape together $9,800, but we needed $9,934 to buy the material he needed. I had a fever but couldn't afford to see a doctor, so I sat under the scorching midday sun, crying and hoping the sunlight would sterilize me. A guy collecting hair passed by, and I sold the hair I'd been growing for 10 years. Getting $270 in return. I spent $100 to buy the material, and the rest went to buy better formula for Nancy, who had lost weight on the cheap stuff. Jack's research was built on my blood, sweat, and tears. Lisa, who never lifted a finger, says I don't understand. I just wanted to spend my last month in peace, but they won't let me have that. Fine, then, let's all be miserable together. Jack, when are you going to set the record straight? I cough violently. I hand Nancy to Jack's parents, ready for confrontation. His face is cold as he repeats his previous excuses. Lisa has a nervous condition. A week ago, he used that excuse to bring her into our home, had his mom recognize her as a goddaughter, and wanted Nancy to call her godmother. Now he's saying he's afraid defending me will make Lisa a target of cyberbullying. So because I'm terminal, it's okay for me to be bullied. Because Nancy is little, she should suffer too. His veins bulge in anger. Alice, stop causing trouble. Am I wrong, Jack? Do you remember you're a father? You moved her into our home, sat her in my place, played footsie, held hands in front of everyone, and then made me, your legal wife, the target of public scorn, and Nancy their mockery. We can't defend ourselves, can't even complain. When we got married, you promised to treat me well. Is this what you call treating me well? Jack, I only have a month left to live. Can't you wait even that long before pushing me to die? That confrontation shattered the facade of harmony among the three of us. Jack glared at me for a long time before sneering. Do you regret it? His words cut deep, like a knife to my heart. I hoped he would listen, understand me even once, but he always made up his mind without giving me a second thought. I've learned not to expect anything from him. I paused, then answered, yes, Jack, let's divorce. Every word felt like blood from my heart. They say theirs is a love from school days to wedding vows. What about my affection and sacrifices for him, stretching back to high school? 14 years. Most of my life is tied to him. Cutting him out hurts, but I must think of Nancy. Lisa will never tolerate Jack's child with me growing up safely in her home. I need to send Nancy to my family. With a loud crash, Jack suddenly kicked over the coffee table. Shards of glass flew everywhere. A piece nicked my cheek. He stepped through the broken glass and wiped the blood from my face. I don't agree. You said it yourself. When we married, it's till death do us part, not divorce. The melodrama ended with Lisa moving out. On moving day, Lisa messaged me, Alice, Don't think I don't see what you're doing. You better just leave. I can't promise what'll happen if you don't. And I believe her. After all, we both knew in our hearts that the online smear campaign against me was started by her. I threw my phone to Jack, trying to tell him to keep an eye on Nancy since he had been picking up the kids lately. He just furrowed his handsome brow and said, "If you didn't make a fuss, she wouldn't have done anything." Disappointment overwhelmed me again. It was my fault. I shouldn't have thought that him making Lisa move out was out of pity for me, forgetting that I still bore the name of the other woman. Jack made that small adjustment, just for his convenience. All these years, he always wanted me to shut up, and this time, I finally did as he wished. I walked away silently with my phone in hand. He seemed a bit uncomfortable, awkwardly clearing his throat and holding a glass of water, asking, "Do you have anything else to say?" I ignored him. Instead of wasting time, I'd rather focus more on my daughter. She's too young. There are so many life lessons I want to teach her. I'm afraid that after I die, she won't be able to grow up safely. "Mom, will you die?" Nancy lay on my leg, tearfully asking. I didn't know how to answer such a cruel question. When I was diagnosed, I initially wanted to hide it from her. But with Lisa's appearance, the secret was ruthlessly revealed to Nancy. "Mom, can you not die? Nancy will protect you. Nancy is small. Nancy will share with you. You can't die, okay?" Her innocent and earnest words made my eyes well up with tears. All I could do was clumsily mimic emotional TV dramas, weaving a fairy tale to ease her fears about death and separation. "Nancy, Mom is not dying. Mom is just going to the place where Nancy came from, watching over Nancy from the sky. Just like Nancy watched over me from the sky." But the little girl said, "But every child has their mom by their side. How can I grow up without a mom?" Yeah, how is my baby going to grow up? She has a father who doesn't love her, and will have a stepmother who will hate her. I must get divorced quickly and take her to my parents. Back then, I cut off relations with my family to marry Jack, but I know very well that no parent holds grudges against their children. As long as I need them, they will come to me from thousands of miles away. Nancy's birthday is in a week, which is the perfect opportunity to ensure I look good when I see my parents. I decided to turn off my phone and get some rest. When Jack learned that I invited my parents for Nancy's birthday, he angrily slammed the door and left. Both of us knew my parents were coming to help me fight for custody. Even if he throws a tantrum, this marriage is ending no matter what. He came back the next day, reeking of perfume. But I no longer cared. I just want a divorce. To avoid causing trouble for Nancy during this time, I left picking her up and dropping her off to Jack. That afternoon, I was supposed to take my meds and sleep deeply, but for some reason, I was jolted awake by a sudden feeling of dread. I didn't see the baby when I opened my eyes, so I grabbed my phone and saw Jack's message on phone. "Lisa had a nightmare and freaked out. I put the kid in the elevator, go meet her." The time was 4:08 p.m. Now, it was 4:15 p.m. My face turned pale. I quickly opened the door, and sure enough, no child. Nancy was clingy and insecure. If she'd been at the door, she would have been banging on it by now. Checking the security camera and calling Jack, I screamed, "Jack, what are you doing? Where's the child?" Thinking I was throwing a tantrum because he went to Lisa, he impatiently asked, "What are you fussing about now? I told you, Lisa has a mental condition. Don't you want a divorce? Stop causing trouble." Talking past each other. Just then, I heard faint crying from the surveillance footage. "Mom, Mom." A small hand reached into the frame, but a scream followed, and the hand was yanked out of view, clearly being pulled away. "Nancy, I never hesitate to think the worst of Lisa. Jack, tell Lisa if anything happens to my Nancy, I swear I'll make her life a living hell." I ran frantically to the security office. As I ran, a man wearing a mask and a baseball cap brushed past me, briefly making eye contact. Our gazes met. A mother's instinct recognized instantly. He took my child. I kicked him fiercely before he could react. Clutching his groin in pain, the man doubled over. I jumped on his back, delivering an elbow blow to his spine, knocking him down. Then I pulled out a hairpin and pressed it to his neck. "Tell me where my child is, or I'll kill you right now." No stranger would look at me with such wary eyes. Everything happened so fast, and I was too ferocious, scaring him into reflexively answering, "Behind the rose bush at Building 4. His clothes smelled faintly of roses and women's perfume. I didn't care about him. Jumping up and running to the rose bush, my tiny child lay lifeless under the vine canopy. Her red shoes, a barter for logo designs with the store owner, lay discarded nearby. How could this happen? Holding her, I wanted to question her, but all that came out were animalistic screams. Jack's mother fainted upon arrival. People tried to pull me away. I shook them off, baring my teeth like a cornered animal at my enemies. Nancy. I don't know how long it was, but Jack's voice broke through. The crowd parted like the Red Sea, revealing his pale face and Lisa's behind him. A breeze carried a scent, just like the one on the man. So it was Lisa's doing after all. Holding my child, I staggered to Lisa. I wanted to ask if giving Jack to her meant she'd return Nancy to me, but my voice only made guttural sounds. Jack trembled, stopping me. Nancy, don't do this. It has nothing to do with her. How could it have nothing to do with her? I want to tell Jack, it's Lisa who killed the baby. I want to say, I really don't want this man anymore, really. Can you give Nancy back to me, please? But the more anxious I get, the less I can speak. The murderer was caught easily, but he refused to admit Lisa sent him. I regained my voice too late. Their similar scents had already dissipated. We can check their bodies for each other's fingerprints, or even secretions, I said calmly. Such persistent contamination can't come from a mere handshake. Lisa shot up, her face strained and angry. Jack's face was worse. Enough. I've told you it has nothing to do with her. How long are you going to keep this up? Have you thought about Lisa as a woman? How's she supposed to live with these accusations? I was trembling, feeling blood rush to my throat. Did he know that the dead child was his only biological one? The baby is dead. Don't you feel sad? I am sad, of course. He was stunned, meeting my accusatory gaze, his eyes briefly averted. He wasn't sad. Maybe he even felt a little joy. I realized suddenly, yeah, of course. He's not just the father, he's an accomplice. He was the one who told Lisa I was sick. He was the one who left the baby alone and let Lisa take advantage. I can't believe he didn't figure out Lisa killed the baby, but he chose to protect this murderer. My disappointment was so deep that I didn't even have the desire to slap him. I coldly calculated, finding a lawyer to accuse him of harboring a criminal, being an accomplice. How many years would he get? Maybe feeling guilty under my gaze, he uncomfortably tugged at his tie. Nancy, I know you're in pain, but I'm in more pain than you. Today I didn't just lose a daughter, I might lose my mother too. She's still in critical condition. Do you have to make a scene now? Lisa was even more terrified of my gaze, pulling at Jack's arm and stepping back. Officer, what's wrong with her? Has she gone mad? I wish I could go mad right now, so I could kill them and not be blamed for it. Shut up. A weak reprimand came from the police station door. Jack's mother walked in, shakily supported by her husband, with an 4 needle in her hand. The 4 bottle was on a stand Jack's father held. Mom, why are you here? Jack hurried forward but got slapped by his mother. If I didn't come, would you bully Alice to death? How did I raise such a heartless thing? The dead is your child. With that, all my strength crumbled. I stood trembling before Jack's mother, crying uncontrollably. Mom, our Nancy is gone. Nancy was murdered. Mom, I'm so heartbroken. I regret it. The baby was only a month old, and he could already throw tables and chairs at her. How did I ever think he would love the baby? I thought even if he didn't like her at first, raising her for 4 years would create some affection. Jack's mother hugged me in agony. Mom knows. My good child. It's Mom's fault I didn't raise Jack right. Alice, you should divorce Jack. Take Nancy away. He doesn't deserve you. Okay, I'll divorce him. I'll take Nancy away. Everyone thought Jack was eager to divorce me. I thought so too. But when Jack's mother suggested it, he said, no. Like a beast clinging to life, he gripped my arm tightly, his bloodshot eyes filled with a possessiveness I couldn't understand. Even if I die, you must engrave it on my tombstone and be buried with me. When I came to, I was lying in a hospital. The white ceiling was hazy like a dream. My parents and brother were all around my bed. Mom seemed to age instantly. She held my hand, her tear-streaked face choking out. Stupid girl, we told you not to marry him. Not to marry him. You even broke ties with us to marry him. Look what kind of life you've led. No good food, no good clothes. What is this mess you're living? Her crying and scolding voice felt distant. When she paused, I asked, Mom, where's Nancy? Mom's sobbing almost stopped, then broke out again, louder. No one answered me, but I already knew the answer. It wasn't a dream. My Nancy was gone. Alice, you have to be strong. The doctor on rounds consoled me. Look at your parents. I heard they drove for over 10 hours straight just to be here. They love you. You will have more children in the future. I shook my head. When I married Jack, I wasn't as happy as I'd imagined. Jack's family's bankruptcy and his heartbreak oppressed him like a mountain. With no outlet, he took it all out on me in cold words. At that time, I had to earn money, carry a baby, and fight with my own family. It was Nancy's arrival that gave me the will to live. I just want my Nancy. In the end, he traded our child's life for 3 million. He said, with 3 million, we can get you a new heart. We'll have more kids. How could he expect a mother to use her child's death money to save herself? I wished I could die in place of the baby, but no one cared about my wishes. Even Jack's mother and my mom sided with him this time. They teamed up, sedated me, and when I woke up, it was all settled. Jack held my hand, demanding forcefully, Alice, you're an adult. Think rationally. We need to move forward. I was losing my mind, and he wanted me to be rational. It was always like this, doing things intense enough to push me to the brink of insanity, yet blaming me for going crazy, for not being sensible. Shut up. I thought I would go crazy, but I didn't. Sometimes, hallucinations seamlessly invade my life. It's not until a second later, when they fade, that I realize I've just had one. Like when I'm holding a pen, trying to draw Nancy. I think I'm using a brush, but when I finish, I suddenly realize I'm holding colored pencils. Luckily, it doesn't affect my daily life, so no one notices. But earning money for the divorce lawsuit becomes especially tough, because during hallucinations, I can only see what I want to see, and I never know when reality will return. So, I have to sit there night after night, repeatedly checking files. I can't afford to make a mistake. This is my hope for the divorce. I need to take Nancy's ashes away from here. They don't deserve her. After 3 days and nights, I've reviewed the files for the 10th time. Finally, I feel confident enough to package them up and send them to the client. Just as I open the office building's door downstairs, I see Jack standing outside, looking pale and grim. Snowflakes have settled on his shoulders. Alice, do you really want to divorce me that badly? He grabs the folder from my hand and tears it apart. When you asked me to marry you, I told you not to regret it. Nancy was my daughter too. Her death was hard for me as well. I changed her diapers when you were recovering from the C-section. I bathed her and fed her. I loved her just as much as you did. His tears make me want to throw up. I can't stand it and push him away. Get away from me. If you loved her, why did you leave her to go find Lisa? If you loved her, why did you let her go home alone, knowing Lisa lied? She was 3.5, not 12 or 22.5 years old. But he doesn't care, and hugs me tightly as I continue to dry heave. I won't leave. We only have each other now. Nancy, can't you look at me? You still have me. Let's not get a divorce. Let's have another one, okay? We'll have a daughter if you like daughters. 3 daughters even. I don't know why he thinks saying those cheesy lines from a drama will move me. Having him around is the real nightmare. I want to say something, but the words don't come out. I can only hold my head and scream. I hate being sane. Why am I so clear-headed? Wouldn't it be less painful if I were crazier, more confused? I can't even faint. I can't break free from Jack. Trapped like a beast, cornered by him, yet still not released. The sharp madness finds no escape, forced to settle into sudden calmness. You said you loved the baby. Can you send Lisa to jail then? Even if you did, we're still impossible. His face turns pale. Lisa is innocent. Stop making trouble out of nothing. At that moment, I truly want to kill the man standing in front of me. How could I ever have loved such a beast? He wants both the romantic red rose and his first love. But why should my child have to be sacrificed for him? Jack, before the baby was born, I didn't think I could live. On the second day after the C-section, none of you were around. The doctor said the baby had jaundice, could be brain damaged. I endured the pain and ran up and down the stairs with her, saying to myself, Alice, no matter how painful the future is, you must live for the baby. If she loses her mom and dad doesn't love her, how will she grow up? But Jack, I'm alive, but my baby is gone. Do you understand? I'm alive, but my baby is gone. Jack, can you and Lisa go die together? Jack, would you be happy if I died? Me? No. Jack, then I won't die. Me? Can't you divorce me and be with Lisa then? Jack, what will it take for you to believe I don't love her? I cover my face. Does it matter who you love anymore? If you won't divorce, and won't kill Lisa for me, then kill me. Jack collapses, pressing me down on the ground and kissing me. Summer's dappled light filters through lush branches, covering and engulfing us like a flurry of snow. The scorching heat burns the skin, yet inside, I feel nothing but icy, dead cold. No one can save us. Jack tore my agreement. I couldn't submit the copyrights to the client within the contract period. Now I owe double the compensation. Despair crashes over me like a tidal wave, but I can't give up. Jack hired a nurse to watch over me at home. He said I was crazy, afraid I'd commit suicide. I know, he's just afraid I'll run away. On the 5th day of being locked at home, Lisa came to find me. Alice, I know you're suffering, but I never intended to hurt Nancy. She looked so much like Jack. Though I was jealous, I would never harm a child who resembled him so much. It's all your karma. If it weren't for you, how could Jack bear to not come to find me? I grabbed a trash can and slammed it over her head. My daughter's name is so beautiful. How can it come out of your filthy mouth? I regretted it. I really regretted it. If only, when they broke up, I hadn't married Jack out of that ridiculous greed. No matter who I married, my child would likely be alive and well, growing up healthily and happily with all the love from a mother and father. She screamed, "You crazy woman. You think Jack loves you. He's only guilty. When will you get the hint and leave him?" Each shameless word made my nausea surge up again. I clung to the sofa, vomiting until my vision went black. The nurse freaked out, holding me up and shouting continuously. Jack came back at some point. Lisa and Jack were arguing. "Why did you come to provoke her? Haven't you hurt her enough? What have I done to hurt her? She's the one who hurt me first." Amid the chaos, I saw my Nancy. She said, "Mom, stop crying. Everything will be okay." "No, it won't, baby, unless justice is served for you, unless mommy goes to be with you." Maybe it was that hallucination, but my constant vomiting stopped suddenly. My loss of appetite vanished. I became incredibly energized. I pleaded with the client, contacted each illustrator, begging them to help me redo the contract. This time, I got smarter. I stopped using paper contracts and secretly registered an electronic agreement. Sometimes I'd look up from the study to see Jack standing at the door, watching me with joy and tenderness in his eyes. These were things I never got before, but now I don't want them. Yet Jack seemed addicted. One time I woke up groggily and saw him wiping my face with a towel. His eyes were full of hope. "Alice, don't be scared. I know what you want. You'll be fine soon." What does he want to do now? I soon found out what he was planning. On Nancy's birthday, Jack brought a kid home. The kid's brows and eyes somewhat resembled Nancy's. I was holding a cake, looking at that timid figure and Jack's excited face, and I threw up again. Did he think that by bringing a substitute, I would be happy? No, I felt humiliated. My Nancy was one of a kind in the world. How could he? That day was chaotic, with the child's screams and my parents' pleas weaving a dark web, trapping me in confusion. My mom, "Jack, you've already driven Alice crazy. Can't you leave her alone?" I was very puzzled hearing this. What was my mom talking about? I felt perfectly sane. After a week's peace, Jack finally felt at ease and stopped watching me closely. I took the opportunity to search, and found a medical report in his drawer. Bipolar disorder, split personality, manic depression with strong aggressiveness. Oh, so I'm crazy now. But why haven't I seen Nancy if I'm crazy? I suspected the report was fake. So, I took it out and hid it in the hollow tube of the bedpost. After Jack got home from work, I saw him pacing around the room, wanting to ask me something, but never saying it. On the 103rd time he looked at me, I asked him, "Are you looking for something?" His eyes dodged. "Have you? No, never mind. Are you looking for the medical report? You found out." So it was true, but I still found it unbelievable. How could I possibly be crazy? I decided to ignore Jack and observe further. After all, I didn't know if the Jack in front of me was a hallucination born from my intense desire to go mad. Until 3 days later, I pried open the hollow tube and found the report still there. So I was really crazy. Holding the medical report, I went to see Lisa. Lisa said I went crazy after being compensated by the client. To repay my debts and cover my treatment, Jack, who never liked to bow to others, went to an old friend and sold the brain machine interface technology. I split myself into multiple illustrators, signed electronic contracts with myself, and created the client. "Now that you know the truth, can you get a divorce?" Lisa said. Lisa's words made me realize that Jack had some feelings for me, at least a strong sense of guilt. Good. A plan of revenge formed in my mind. That night, I told Jack I knew everything. "I don't need your guilt. Let's get a divorce. Even if I die, I won't use your dirty money." I had my phone on speaker so Lisa could hear. Jack grabbed my chin, eyes red. "Then you'll have to endure. Alice, I won't let you die. Get it out of your head. I'll release you when I get tired of caring for you. I don't need your care. If you don't let me go, I'll die right in front of you. Alice, don't you love me at all?" He roared. "I don't." He held me for a long time, eyes dark. "You have no choice. You must live. As long as you die, I'll live." Repeating this several times, he seemed deeply wounded by my intense hatred, staring at me fiercely. "Do you have to be so heartless? Alice, don't you remember any of the good I've done for you these past years? Fine, I promise you, 3 months later, whether I'm tired of it or not, I'll fulfill your wish. I'll die to atone for Nancy. But during this time, you have to eat, take your medicine, and exercise properly." I said nothing. Now, whatever goes against him, even if it's for my own good, I don't want to agree to. I couldn't even lie or humor him. He stared at me for a long time, then smiled helplessly. Stubborn. Then he leaned in to kiss me. I dodged. He glared and pinned my head between his hands, leaving 2 bite marks on my forehead. Promise me you'll have the surgery. I can't. He probably wanted to say he couldn't lose me after losing Nancy, but in the end, he swallowed the words back. Too sentimental. With his personality, he couldn't say it. Behave, and I'll fulfill your wish. His warm breath, mixed with dampness and sadness, fell on the back of my neck. I softened for a moment. I knew he wasn't happy, but only for a moment. I'd never forget Nancy's small body among the rose bushes. He colluded with others to kill my daughter. After hanging up, Lisa texted, "That's it. As long as Jack agrees to divorce, this is music to my ears." Music to her ears. I laughed. The kind of music that would make her in anger destroy her table at home. She couldn't fool anyone. My plan went far beyond this. "Next time, don't forget to pick up," I sweetly invited. Soon, I started step 2. "Jack, when will you die?" "In a month." "Too long." I flipped over the food he brought, pretending to be mad. "I can't wait." "Can't it be sooner?" The vein on his temple bulged, but he calmly and coldly cleaned up the dishes, then took out the medical kit to check the burn on my hand. "It can't be sooner. If you want to witness it, live till that day." Then he brought another bowl of soup. I refused to eat. I overturned the table again, like a real madwoman, throwing a fit and sobbing. "Hurry up and die. I won't eat until you die." Jack was never a patient person. I watched the vein on his temple throb, and his smile stiffen, and finally, he impatiently took out a knife. "Do I have to die for you to eat properly?" "Yes, fine." He slashed his left wrist. Blood streamed from the wound. He slammed a bowl of food in front of me. "Eat." He sat next to me, his face pale. His body exuded a sense of recklessness and fatigue. The room was very quiet. Only the sound of the knife and fork, and his blood dripping on the floor. I should have laughed out loud with satisfaction, but as I ate, tears started to fall. I didn't know why I was crying. Was it because he fell into my trap and I was happy? Or because his injury saddened me? Or was I regretful of us reaching this point? Or missing my baby? The door was kicked open by Lisa and her crew. "Jack," she sobbed out, her voice cracking. But Jack didn't even glance her way. Just as Lisa was about to touch his shoulder, Jack suddenly grabbed my chin and kissed me hard. "Stop crying. I won't die for at least another month," he said harshly, yet there was a hint of timidity. "Once something starts, everything else becomes easier." Jack had gotten used to hurting himself to make me feel better. A cut today, another cut tomorrow. His pale wrists were covered in fresh scabs. Initially, Lisa could still sneer at me, but after numerous death threats, her will finally crumbled. "What the hell are you thinking, you maniac?" Lisa watched the video and didn't dare to utter a sound, so she crazily typed out her questions to me. "Tomorrow, I have a heart transplant surgery." Jack, wearing an apron, made me my last meal. He nagged, reminding me of this and that. I just looked at him and kept asking, "When are you going to die?" I bet Lisa was going nuts on the other end of the phone, screaming and questioning, constantly calling Jack. But I had muted the phone and made Jack turn his off too. He looked emaciated beyond recognition after half a month of torment. His bandaged hand tenderly stroked my face. He unwrapped the bandage. Blood flooded my vision, and I started to smile. He became obsessed, looking at my smile. "Alice, you look so beautiful when you smile. I haven't seen you smile in a long time." "I'm sorry." This time, Lisa saved him again, but he fell into a coma. Lisa slapped me so hard as she walked by that I fell to the ground. But I didn't care. Watching her cry, my smile grew wider. Lisa finally broke down and knelt, pleading with me. "What do you want so you'll let him go?" I was wrong. I started the cyberbullying. "I framed you. I'll clear your name. I won't interfere in your lives anymore." "Okay." "No," I replied, staring at the ceiling. "There's only one thing I want. For you to go to the police and confess it was you who killed the baby." I didn't. Her eyes flickered, betraying her fear. She didn't want to die. As long as she was alive, she could deny everything and continue to be entangled with Jack. But I wouldn't let her off that easily. "You did. Don't forget. I'm good at solving puzzles. The thug who killed the baby had your perfume scent. If it was just a handshake, the scent wouldn't linger. You must have just slept with him. Jack knows. You think he's crazy because of me. No, he's doing it to cover for your crime. Lisa, he loves you so much that he let you kill his own child and even developed a self-harm addiction to protect you. Isn't that true love? Do you really want to watch him die? Just take the blame. Get yourself sentenced to death, and I'll let him go." I persuaded her like a devil. She stared blankly for a long time before tremblingly asking, "Do you promise?" "Yes," I nodded. "After all, you know how I feel about him." I wanted to say I loved Jack, but I realized I couldn't. Even if I lied, I couldn't say I loved him. My voice abruptly stopped, letting Lisa fill in the blanks herself. She fell for it. The next day, dressed in a white dress, she walked into the police station while I watched. No matter how her father tried to pull strings, she firmly confessed to the crime and even asked her lawyer to push for a harsher sentence. When her mother visited, she tried to retract her confession. So I took Jack to court. Jack looked at me for a long time and said, "Okay." Lisa, seeing him covered in wounds, gave up her appeal and died in prison that night. After she died, I went crazy with laughter at home. I laughed until I collapsed. Jack sat on the carpet watching me, a cigarette between his fingers. It had been a long time since he smoked in front of me, ever since Nancy was born. Lisa surely held a special place in his heart. "Are you happy now?" he asked. I nodded, only halfway. "Am I next?" He exhaled a long puff of smoke. I gave him a wicked smile. "Who told you I was going to kill you?" "Actually, besides Lisa, the person I hated most was myself. Jack, if I had never loved you, it would have been better. I regret it." I vomited blood. I had been deceiving him, throwing up the medicines every time I went to the bathroom. He was stunned, dropping the cigarette, and barefooted, he stomped out the butt in a panic. He rushed to hold me. "Alice, don't die. It's not like that. Listen to me. There's more to the story. I'll tell you everything. Don't die, okay? Don't leave me." I was too weak to push him away now. At this point, did those hidden truths even matter? Before, I wanted to hear it, but now I just didn't care, nor did I have the time. "Jack, I'm taking the baby's ashes with me. Don't die, or Dad won't have the strength to earn money for Mom's medical bills in his old age. Red roses, first love. Jack, you get nothing. Live a good, hard, painful life. Maybe someday, someone like me will come into your heavily burdened, scarred world. But you'd better move on. That'll take a long time, and I wonder how long they'll last with you. I wish you eternal loneliness." Jack's epilogue. Alice miscalculated. I will never recover from the pain of losing her. She always thought Lisa was my first love, but in reality, it was her. My first love was her, my red rose was her, and only her. When I was at my lowest and most embarrassed, she came to me without hesitation, trying hard to light up my path forward. It's just that our timing was terrible. I enjoyed her tenderness and her tolerance. I relied on her unconditional love, venting all my frustrations, resentment, and sadness from the world on her. But I never wanted to hear anything negative from her. She should love me. Only with her full of love could I keep going on my path. But I would never tell her this. I was afraid she might mock me. In her eyes, my image should be tall, confident, and glowing, not someone who just relies on her like a spoiled child. She always doubted I didn't like Nancy. It's not that I didn't like her. I just had big issues with her. Who could like someone who competes with you for your wife, especially someone who looks like you but is more charming? I hated the idea of separating the family, sending the little girl to stay with her grandparents. I made the suggestion once, only for Alice to kick me in the calf. She didn't understand how cold I felt at that moment. Once, the little woman's heart was full of me. Not anymore. But I never thought she would die. I knew that with her around, Alice would never leave me. So, when Alice was diagnosed with heart failure and given a month to live, I was devastated. Everyone congratulated me, because brain-computer interface technology had succeeded. Hard times were supposed to be over. But with my wife almost gone, what sweetness was there for me? So when Lisa came to me, saying she had a heart that matched Alice, I agreed to bring her home, have her call my mom godmother and my daughter goddaughter. I thought having her call my mom godmother made it clear we were just siblings, and avoided any scandal. I didn't understand why Alice was so angry, until the online harassment began. Then I finally realized just how stupid I had been. But it was too late. I was terrified. I feared Alice getting hurt, and I feared her getting angry and blaming me. So when I saw her hurt, I couldn't help but scold her. But I was wrong again. I broke her heart. She wanted to divorce me, even called her parents to take her away. I was furious, deliberately stayed out all night, and sprayed myself with perfume to provoke her. But she didn't care anymore. At that moment, I panicked, and I felt wronged. I thought all of this was because she didn't know what I had done for her. I arrogantly thought that once everything settled, she would regret how she treated me now. But that didn't happen. Nancy died. To get the heart from Alice, I agreed to reconcile with Lisa, which became the final straw that broke Alice. She went insane. She didn't want me anymore. She only wanted to kill me. Oddly, I was kind of pleased, because at least in her world, there was only me. But in the end, she took only herself away. After she died, I found an old, final private post from her social media. She wrote, "When will you listen to what I want to say? Probably only after I die." In that instant, Tears streamed down my face. Turns out, I was wrong so early on.